Check out how I used my home studio to create the spec ad for Bhu Foods. Since Bhu means from the earth, I made sure to tie in some nature elements into the ad. For the opening shot, I wanted it to look like the viewer is emerging from a jungle, where the moving leaves reveal the protein bites. For the lighting setup, overhead lights are off. I used an Amaran 200XS powered to 58% intensity for my key light, with an Amaran Light Dome Mini to diffuse it. For the fill, I used an Amaran 100XS powered to 87% intensity with an Aperture Light Dome 3 to diffuse it. Both lights are set to 5600 Kelvin. To light my backdrop, I used an Aperture MT Pro tube light and an Amaran P60C LED panel light. For my set, I have the 4 different flavors of these cookie dough bites on top of this marble pedestal, and this is against the Sea Mist Savage backdrop paper. And then this is contact paper that I found that was as close to the backdrop color as possible. And then I made these little leaves with my Cricut. I basically took this shape and photoshopped it so I could create one continuous leaf. And then I used my Cricut to cut them out on cardstock and glued them to these skewers. As we push in on this Edelkrone slider, John's going to move those leaves out of the way so it almost looks like you're coming through the jungle. And for the camera, so pumped to have upgraded since our last video. So now I am rolling on the Canon R5C, and this is my Sigma 18-35 f1.8 art lens, and I'm using the Canon EF to RF adapter so I can still use this on my R series Canon. Higher up, and bring this one up more. That looks amazing. Put this one a little more up. Perfect. I'm rolling in 1 and 2. That's sick. Do you want to check them out? Here's what the raw in-camera shot looked like. This was my favorite shot of the whole ad. Next, I shot the rotating bag scene. Okay, so for this next shot, I'm gonna have the 4 different flavors rotating on this turntable. And then the idea will be to match cut them on rotation so it looks like it's having one seamless 360 while you get to see all 4 flavors. I propped up the bag on the cap to a peanut container and used my motorized turntable to record a few rotations of each bag. And here's what these shots looked like raw. In post, I made the cut between each shot as close to the same position as I could, and it created a pretty seamless match cut. I added text behind it and masked that frame by frame to sit behind the bag rotation. Okay, on to the next shot. I'm using my macro lens to capture a really close up of the bar breaking in half. I went ahead and pre-cut the bars ahead of time so that way my hands aren't shaking too much since the macro lens is super sensitive to any type of movement. I did set it to autofocus since again there is just such a small room for error that it's gonna be easier for it to lock onto focus when I'm holding it. And then once I see that it's in focus, just go for the break. I'm just gonna go for a few takes in a row and hopefully we can capture something that looks good. Here's the raw clip versus the edited clip. The next shot was a detail shot of the inside of each flavor protein bite. This wasn't originally planned in my storyboard, but I felt like it could be a cool shot to add in once I was on set. This shot is also using my Canon RF 100mm f2.8 macro lens. To keep the bite steady, I attached it to a toothpick and a sponge so I could lock focus on the bite. All right, now I'm gonna do the peanut butter chocolate chip one and roll this for about 5 or 6 seconds. Ooh, this is the double chocolate chip cookie dough one. That is the white chocolate chip macadamia cookie dough. Yeah, this one looks pretty macadamia-y. I'm gonna go with this one. That's like the cool part to me about filmmaking is sometimes you don't even have an idea until you're in the middle of your shoot, and just naturally by seeing something else gives you an idea for another shot that you can add into your edit later. So I always find that part really cool, the process. Moving on to the stop motion shot. For this next shot, I'm doing some stop motion of the 4 different flavors. So the best way to do this is actually to film it in reverse. I'm still using my macro lens, but I have them set up as the final position that it'll look like in the edit. But I'm just gonna keep rolling the entire time and very gently remove one piece at a time as to not shake the rest. So I'm gonna roll this, get a few seconds of all 4 in the stack. Now I'm gonna remove this one. Now I'm gonna remove this one, remove this one, remove this, and get 4 seconds of like a clean plate. All right, and we should be good on the stop motion shot, super easy. And check out how it looked once edited. The next 8 shots were used to create the ingredient to bar transformation split screen. For this next shot, I'm having the ingredients match cut into the finished bar. So for the first one, it's just the regular chocolate chip cookie dough, and it's made of chocolate chips and cashews as the main ingredients. So I formed the same shape and size as the bar, and I'm putting it on the orange color backdrop because that's the color of the bag for the SKU. And I have a C-stand set up with a boom arm, as you can see right here, so I can do a top-down angle. And this is what the shot's looking like. And the only other difference in the lighting setup is I moved this Aperture MT Pro light to illuminate this instead of the backdrop, since you can't see the backdrop in this shot anyway. I replaced the ingredients with the bar and tried to keep it as close to the previous position as I could. I also decided to do a version of the take where a few stray ingredients are scattered around the bar to give me more options in post. Purple background, this is the peanut butter one. Now I'm going to replace this with the bar. Okay, and now I'm also going to grab a take with a few stray ingredients like I did last time, just so we have the option in post. It's always better to record it and not need it than to be in post and wish you had something that you could have recorded. Especially if it's something as quick as this, that's just gonna take an extra couple minutes. Now I'm gonna reset the scene to do the next flavor. I'm gonna do the chocolate one next. So we will need the brown paper. And now I'm just gonna set up the little square of ingredients for this one, which is cashews, chocolate chips will do, and I think that's it. So it's gonna be similar to the chocolate chip cookie dough one. The only difference is I'm gonna pack way more chocolate chips than peanuts in terms of the ratio compared to that first one I did, just to double down on the fact that this is double dark chocolate. So we'll just really pack in the chocolate chips to kind of get that effect. And I'm really digging how this Aperture MT Pro light is throwing some shadow on the ingredients. It's giving it a lot of depth, and I just think it looks really cool the way that it's casting those shadows. I'm gonna do this one more time with the last flavor, which is the white chocolate macadamia cookie dough. So this one's gonna become the new backdrop. So this one has cashews, white chocolate chips, and it's gotta have, macadamia, there they are. Okay. And I'm being mindful to strike a good balance between this being super precisely placed and then some ingredients that are flipped over. So I'm making sure some of the cashews are the back side and some are the front side. But at the same time, having some order by carefully placing the chocolate chips all right side up. Hello? Sweet, that's it for this scene. This was the scene that I was most concerned about, thinking it was gonna be the most difficult, but that went really smoothly. Aside from making a pretty big mess, I'm super happy with how this scene went. In post, I made sure to crop each shot and use the opacity dial to help align my 2 shots as close as possible. And this ended up looking super clean. Onto the cutting board shot. All right, the last shot that I'm recording is this pile of the protein bites on this cutting board. And then I'm gonna have my hand come in and take off the top bite. For my setup here, it's similar to the ingredient shot. I did switch out my lens back to the Sigma 18-35. And then I angled in that P60 light, the panel light, to help illuminate more of the cutting board. And then I also brought in the MT Pro tube light a little bit closer as well. And then I just sprinkled the various ingredients around the cutting board again, just to kind of give the scene a little bit more interest and just to keep it appetizing, you know? First, I'm just gonna get about 10 seconds of this frame on its own, and then I'm gonna record one with the hand coming in. I recorded a few takes until I got one that felt smooth and natural. Oops. I recorded the same shot with the macro lens to give me another option to use. And here's what those raw shots looked like. For the outro graphic, I added their slogan as text and put it in the center of the frame. Then I removed the background on some photos of the product bags and keyframed them to slide into the frame covering the text. I added a CTA at the top to tie it all together. And that's a wrap. This was the smoothest shoot I've had yet, and it really proved to me how powerful and beneficial deciding to upgrade my studio gear was. I've already got the storyboard for my next spec ad in the works, so stay tuned for that. And as always, I appreciate you guys for checking out my videos.